Hello everybody, Infernape Shinjo here, and for once for today, I'm not reacting to something. Today, I am here to talk about anime with Let's Talk Anime. It has been a long time since a video has come out. I'm recording this on the 19th of April. I'm gonna try to get it out within the month, just because it's been so long. The thumbnail is not gonna take too much time. It's just all dependent on when I'm going to upload what and whatever. But I do have 3 topics for today, and pardon me if I'm a bit rusty on it. It's been a while since I have done Let's Talk Anime, but let me just jump right into it. So up first, a request that was probably given to me a decade ago now. Heroes Legend of the Battle Discs. It wasn't really a month ago or a decade ago. It's just a little bit of an over-exaggeration. But funny thing about this is I reacted to this probably a couple of months ago, even before I knew that I was going to record Let's Talk Anime, but I just never got around to writing out notes for it or anything. I vaguely remember the plot. Essentially, main character is main character, normal stuff like Ash and, to an effect, Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonists that are just like upbeat and always optimistic and stuff like that. And they have like a partner, kind of like Pokemon, but with discs instead or something like that. I'm a little bit rusty on the plot as well. One thing I do know is the opening is really catchy. I wouldn't say it's like one that I would legitimately download to listen to constantly over my phone or whatever if given the opportunity, but it's a cool song. But not to downplay it, but it kind of reminds me of those, like, oh, what's it called? Not Beyblade. Well, that's one of them. What's it? I should know what it's called, but I can't think of what it's called. I'm sure I'll search it up in between episodes or while I'm editing and I'll remember it. Future Card Buddy Fight. I think that's what I'm thinking of. It's like one of those that appeals to kids and is kind of generic, which isn't necessarily bad because given me from 10 years ago, if I would have found this, I might have watched it and actually liked it. Not to say that I didn't, it's just kind of generic at the same time, and it definitely shows that there wasn't really much that I have to say about it outside of the opening. Although I do remember that there was some sort of plot in the first episode about the main character's like sidekick trying to stab him in the back, metaphorically or something like that, because he didn't want to be friends with him or whatever. I don't remember. It's not really a best explanation of it, but that's the explanation that I gave. If I would have watched through more than episode 1, then I might have more to say, but I really don't. So apologies first of all for that being a very quick explanation of it. But up next is Love, Live, Sunshine. Is it Love Live or Love Live? I think it might be Love Live. My bad. I'm gonna pronounce it Love Live just to make it easier on myself. Now, I watched this like yesterday or the day before, one of those two, and I knew roughly about it because if I'm not mistaken, this was the show that kicked off School Idol anime, I believe. Because I remember people always talking about Love Live when Zombieland Saga was out last year. And essentially, the plot of the first episode is Chica, great name for a character, by the way. But Chica wants to make a splash in the world and basically wants to make a school idol group. And if you've seen the first episode of it, then that splash was somewhat intentional as a joke. But essentially, the first episode, and I'm assuming the next couple of episodes, boiled down to she wants to make a school idol group, but she's got these obstacles in the way. School president's basically saying, you can't do that, you have to have 5 people. And I think they even mentioned this in the episode, that the school president isn't totally against her. She's just being that way just because that's how she's supposed to be, but she actually supports her or something like that. If that's actually a plot point, that's kind of funny, but kind of overdone at the same time. I don't know. I've watched a lot of school anime, so I have somewhat of a background on talking about it. Now, the things that I liked about it, first of all, I spotted that Sega cameo in the very first episode, one of the first scenes. And from what I saw from the ending, they might have sponsored this or something like that. I don't know. I believe it because if they sponsor you, you gotta put their name somewhere or whatever. Which they could have just easily had the girls playing Sonic or whatever else Sega makes. I don't know. And like I mentioned earlier, Chica's backstory about wanting to become an idol, essentially, I can't remember what it was. It was super simple. I wrote that down in the notes. But I think essentially she saw somebody performing as an idol and decided that's what she wants to do. And basically just wanted to, like I mentioned before, step out on her own and make a splash in the world. That backstory is very simple, but for people that are watching this that are still in middle or high school that want to make a big difference in the world, that's something that they will enjoy. And even for older people as well. Because you have other anime like A Place Further Than the Universe that was last year that essentially had the same driving point at the start of it, that just wants to make a difference in the world and have one big explosion of fun before graduation or whatever. So that's cool. And to be honest, I don't remember why I put this under a pro, but at the same time I kind of do. I could easily put it in either one, but I was wondering why Rika was introduced in the very first episode, because I think what it was, Chica was walking home from school, she sees Rika about to jump in the water, and it was April, the water was going to be cold, so she tries to stop her from going in the water. They both go in the water. And I'm just sitting here wondering, why is she here? I honestly didn't expect her to transfer into her school, even though it was probably pretty obvious thinking about it in perspective. But that's still cool. I guess in a way, it's not like they just introduce a character and just forget about her. Kind of like Pokemon does sometimes. Now, the cons, and really all of the cons can just boil down to, it's generic. The one that I mentioned is you can tell the students that are going to join Chica in the Idol Club. Rika, obviously, because she was introduced to her in the first episode, transfers into the school. And from the sounds of episode 2, I didn't watch it, but it sounds like she's going to be just like, no, I don't want to join your group, but eventually she's going to come around to joining the group because why not? And the 3 girls that she met while handing out the flyers in episode 1, the 2, and then the one that's just like, ho, 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 I am whatever. The one that has kind of like a deep voice, but is still a girl at the same time. Not saying that girls can't have deep voices, that's just the one way I remember her. I think she was Brittany Karbowski or something like that. I can't remember how to pronounce her last name. She voiced Rimuru in the dub of Slime, and I did watch this in the dub for the record. I think that was her. If it's not that, it's some other well-known female voice actress dub. But you could tell which characters are going to join her. Actually, as a matter of fact, look on the poster now. There's your group. Now, I'm not sure if this is from the first season or second season, because I know there are multiple seasons. But this is just the picture that I picked out. So, there you go. But what I will say about Love Live is it's a nice show for an idol anime. I know that there have been a lot of other idol anime because I think there's one called Bang Dream or something like that. And I can imagine there are a whole bunch of other ones that I haven't even heard of. I already mentioned Zombieland Saga. But as an idol anime, it's fine. Honestly, just like a lot of other stuff I reviewed here, if I had the time, I would watch it all. But there's so much for me to watch that I wouldn't have time to even breathe. But rounding off this episode is something that I wanted to talk about, and it just fits perfectly that I didn't have time to watch the third thing that I was going to review for Let's Talk Anime. So instead, we are going to talk about One Punch Man Season 2, which is airing right now. I think from the time that I'm recording this, I've watched through the second episode. First and second episode is the only ones that are out now. So there are probably going to be a lot more out by the time. Heck, it might even be done by the time I come out. By the time that this comes out, I should say. But essentially, I wanted to talk about the controversy, the outrage, I guess a best way to put it, with One Punch Man Season 2. And to give a basic background of it, if you're not familiar with it, One Punch Man Season 1 was done by Studio Madhouse. And when it came out, it was a massive hit. Then, with Season 2 being announced, They were also announcing that Studio Madhouse wasn't going to take over making One Punch Man Season 2, and those rights were going to go to JC Staff for Season 2. And then everybody was upset. And then when the trailer was revealed before it came out, people were even more upset because it's not that great of a trailer if it's trying to hype you up for the anime. And I just wanted to give my basic thoughts on it, just because I'm sure that it's a hot topic right now. People are probably going to ask me about it, so I figured to give my thoughts on it. So first of all, I'm not sure if this is the only time something like this has happened, where a one season of an anime and another season are done by two different people. I know art styles change, like with Pokemon recently, they changed from XY's art style to Sun and Moon's. And who knows what Galar's art style is even going to look like. But I'm not sure if there's been a situation where a studio has shifted control of one particular anime. I feel like there probably is one, but I just don't know. But considering that JC Staff, as far as I know, their biggest accomplishment as far as anime goes is Shokugeki no Soma, Food Wars. I don't know. I haven't watched it myself. But from the episodes I have seen, and from what I've seen people talk about online, JC Staff's animation does not really measure up to Studio Madhouse. Which, I can see that, but at the same time, I don't think it's fair to compare one studio to another. Because you look at Studio Madhouse, okay, what have they done? One Punch Man Season 1. Hunter x Hunter's 2011 adaptation. Probably something else. Didn't they do... No, that was Studio Field that did Hinamatsuri. I keep wanting to say Zombieland Saga was done by Studio Madhouse, but that was MAPPA instead. I'm sure that there was something else that Studio Madhouse did that I have watched, but I can't think of it. And then you go over to JC Staff. Now, from what I have watched, what have they done? I think they did Flying Witch, and I think that might be about it, aside from One Punch Man Season 2. So, needless to say, Madhouse definitely has a lot more in their favor when compared to JC Staff. But, like I said, at the same time, it's not fair to compare two different anime industries, because one has their own way of doing things, and so does the other. Now, as far as the animation, I will admit it's not as good as Season 1. Does that mean that I enjoy it any less? No. It's still One Punch Man at the end of the day, so I'm going to be happy that it got an anime adaptation after all. I mean, I know that there are genuinely people online that are offering constructive criticism, but for the people that are just saying, this animation is horrible, why isn't Studio Madhouse doing it? What would you have done instead? Just have One Punch Man hold off for another month, 6 months, a year, and then when Studio Madhouse gets around to it, finally dubbing Season 2? Who knows how long that would take? At this point, I'm happy that One Punch Man got a Season 2, but if I would have been given the option between waiting and having Madhouse adapt it, or having JC Staff adapt it now, not gonna lie, I probably would prefer JC Staff, just because it's more One Punch Man. Not as well adapted or animated, but it's still fine to me. Although I will say that the opening is going to take a little bit for me to get used to, I will say that I prefer the first season opening. Although I say the exact opposite of Mob Psycho, so who knows, I might change my mind in a couple of weeks. But since this is probably going to be the huge talking point in this episode, let me know what you thought about One Punch Man Season 2, or what you think of it, I should say, if it's not finished yet. And let me know what you would have been given the option for. Would you rather have Madhouse adapt it and wait so much longer, or have JC Staff adapt it now? Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comment section. And that is back to the start. And if you have any suggestions for Let's Talk Anime, leave them down in the comment section. If I'm not mistaken, I think I have 2 more left. Yeah, I have 2 more left, technically, but I could easily just find other stuff to talk about. But that is my return to Let's Talk Anime, I believe it's episode 26. If it's not, then, well, the title will be corrected. But if you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, all the usual stuff. I will see you in the next episode. Momentai. 週末旅行